Something on your mind, dear?
Look, I realize it couldn't have been easy. All those years away. And I'm sorry for what happened to you. But it's not his fault.
I never said that it was.
It took a long time for him to get out of this game.
You see a gun to his head? He chose this. Okay, he's meant for this life.
Uncharted 4 is celebrated for many aspects. These elements collectively contribute to the widespread acclaim and admiration for Uncharted 4 as a landmark in the action-adventure genre. And for the franchise itself today, I intend to cover why it's one of my favorite entries, why it's also one of my favorite PlayStation exclusives, and also just to have a general back and forth discussion in my video essay style with regards to the good and the bad with Uncharted 4 as a retrospective look back at the game. And again, I know many people hold Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3 as probably the best from the Uncharted franchise. But personally, I just feel like Uncharted 4 is sort of underrated, even though it is critically acclaimed and celebrated. I feel like it's underrated within the Uncharted community. But again, that's a discussion for another day. In my essay today, I just intend to cover what I loved about this entry, as well as what made it so great, and what Naughty Dog could have done better, but also a general discussion of where to next for the Uncharted franchise. Uncharted 4 follows Nathan Drake, a retired treasure hunter, as he embarks on one last adventure to find the legendary pirate treasure of Captain Henry Avery. Joined by his long-lost brother Sam, Nate faces betrayal, old enemies, and challenging landscapes in pursuit of this fortune. Now, the game explores themes of loyalty, family, and the consequences of a life devoted to adventure, with stunning visuals and intense action. Uncharted 4 concludes the series with a gripping tale of discovery, as well as self-discovery. Now, the game opens up with a prologue set in the future, establishing a retired Nathan Drake, and hinting at unresolved issues. Flashbacks gradually unveil Nate and Sam's early adventures, providing context for the present storyline that we see unfolding in the game. The narrative focuses on complex relationships between characters, particularly the bond between Nathan and his brother Sam. Now, throughout the progression of the story, layers of Nathan's character are revealed, including his internal conflict and the toil of a life filled with adventure. Because again, he wants to go home to his wife, but simultaneously, that little kid, that adventure inside of him, wants to go out and adventure with his brother Sam. Now, the central plot revolves around the pursuit of Captain Henry Avery's legendary pirate treasure, creating a high-stakes and globe-trotting adventure. The search for the treasure itself is not only a physical journey, but also an exploration of the character's motivations and desires. I think this narrative explores the theme of family, and again with the introduction of Sam adding depth to Nathan's character and revealing a previously unknown part of his path. And going back to what I mentioned about loyalty. Loyalty is a recurring theme, as characters grapple with their commitments to each other and the consequences of their actions. Now, the story also incorporates betrayal and unexpected twists, basically keeping the players engaged and keeping the plot a little bit dynamic, even though a little predictable. Characters' motivations are constantly evolving, leading to moments of tension as well as moments of revelation. Now, the narrative itself unfolds in a diverse and visually stunning environment, each with its own different challenges, each with its own different set pieces. And these set pieces are often grand in scale, and they contribute to the narrative's cinematic quality and provide several memorable moments throughout the game. Especially for me, the most memorable one is when you're looking over Libertalia. When you go up on I forgot what the name of the area is called with Sam, and you basically look up over the peak. I think you guys will remember what I was mentioning from the trailer. If I'm able to put it in the footage, I will put it in the footage below. But for me, this game is structured into distinct chapters, each contributing to the overarching narrative while featuring its own unique challenges and, again, revelation. And I think this structure helps maintain a sense of pacing and variety in the storytelling, because the narrative successfully elicits emotional responses from players, especially in the portrayal of the various relationships, the various sacrifices, and the various personal growth moments for each and every one of the characters. Now, the ending in particular is often praised again for its emotional impact and the closure it actually brings to Nathan Drake's journey. Because this goes back to what I was mentioning about I would love to see another entry in the Uncharted franchise, but simultaneously, I wouldn't mind if this is where they ended it, because they ended it pretty well. They didn't leave like any loose ends. Like, this was kind of like how we saw Breaking Bad and how we saw The Wire end, where it leaves no questions unturned. Because again, we would love to see the adventures of Nathan Drake's daughter, for example. But that's again a question that doesn't have to be answered per se. So you can sort of see where there's that delicate balancing act between the two. Now again, Uncharted 4 for me excels in its storytelling by combining a compelling central plot with well-developed characters, as well as emotional depth, and again, breathtaking set pieces. And I keep referencing set pieces not only with regards to the storytelling, but set pieces with regards to the gameplay. Because I think, again, this is a game that's often more remembered for its fun and compelling gameplay than the actual narrative story structure, as compared to some of the other PlayStation exclusives. Now, moving on to the good. First thing I'd like to point out is, again, the compelling narrative. For me, this game features a gripping and emotionally charged story that explores themes of family, loyalty, and the consequences of a life filled with adventure. Second thing I would like to point out is the stunning visuals. Again, Naughty Dog's attention to detail and technical prowess shines through time and time again, creating breathtaking visuals that set new standards for the realism in gaming. This is something we also saw again with The Last of Us Part 2. Now, the third thing I would like to point out is the character development. The main characters, especially Nathan Drake, undergo significant development, adding depth and nuance to their personalities. And again, the addition of Sam, Nate's brother, brings a new dynamic into the narrative. And again, I know in this essay I'm not focusing on the other characters, because I'm just talking about Uncharted in general, and I feel like Nate being the central part of Uncharted, again, is unfortunately the central part of my essay. I do plan in the future to write about the other characters like I did for Red Dead Redemption. I've got a few essays up on the channel if you're into that kind of thing, where I cover not only Arthur Morgan, Dutch, Micah, that kind of thing. But again, my fourth point again would be engaging gameplay. For me, the gameplay was a perfect blend of exploration, puzzle solving, as well as intense action sequences that keeps players immersed. Because again, the gameplay mechanics are polished, offering a seamless and enjoyable experience. So whether you're moving into a story cutscene or just going back into the regular gameplay, it's sort of seamless. And that goes back again to my next point, which is the cinematic presentation. Because again, this game is renowned for its cinematic quality at the time. We've probably seen better now as time aged, but back in the year when it came out, the seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes enhanced the overall immersion and storytelling to a point that we hadn't seen. I think the next game that we saw do that was God of War, which was shot in one take. So one camera, not one take per se, but one long continuous shot is essentially what God of War 2018 feels like. Now, one of the last things I want to point out to you again, I did already mention the set pieces, so I may not touch too much on that, but I think the attention to detail is another thing that stands out for me. Small details such as character animations, environmental interactions, and just realistic physics all around contribute to the overall sense of immersion and authenticity. Because again, they were working with a lot of diverse and expansive environments, from just jungles to bursting cities. Again, all of this providing a sense of adventure and exploration. And again, the level design was both visually impressive and also strategically engaging. And also, another thing I wanted to touch on was the outstanding voice acting. The cast delivers stellar performances throughout, with Nolan North as Nathan Drake and Troy Baker as Sam, bringing the characters to life with a certain level of authenticity and emotion. And again, touching on sounds, I think the musical score is something that's also underrated in this game. While it doesn't have one of the best soundtracks, the game's soundtrack, composed by Henry Jackman, I think for me complements the narrative and action sequences, enhancing the overall cinematic experience. Now again, the things that I could change, and again, this is just a point of me being nitpicky and me being, an overly critical gamer, but I think the story pacing could have been changed a little bit. The story did at sometimes feel a bit uneven, with certain sections feeling very slow compared to the high octane action sequences that were surrounding it. So maybe tightening the pacing in certain parts might have enhanced the overall experience. But again, that's just me nitpicking. Also, I think the limited exploration also affected people, because although the environments were beautiful and expansive, some players wished for more opportunities for open world exploration. But this is something I also may slightly push back on, because I also have spoken about this in my essay involving what open world games can take from linear games. I think Uncharted did well to not be too open, so they kind of took again the formula from The Last of Us, where it feels like an open world because you're allowed to go and explore and do so much in the surrounding areas, but it's still a somewhat linear story, right? Because you're in a certain sandbox to each chapter, rather than you just being able to wander off and do what you want in another world. So while I can see why people would have wanted a lot more exploration and a lot more freedom with where to go, I kind of think it was a good choice of direction from Naughty Dog. Now, another thing, which was probably the biggest complaint, was probably the enemy AI. Because again, Uncharted 4 is generally competent. Some players did express a desire for more sophisticated behavior, because there was times when the combat sequences and scenarios weren't really challenging, because you could, for example, if you were in a gunfight and you could just duck right underneath the noses of some of the AI, they wouldn't even notice you, and you'd be able to just pop up on the other side and do another stealth kill, and all of a sudden it resets everything. So again, at times it did feel very forgiving, but again, I can see where they were coming from, because it's again just a story game that's meant to be enjoyable and relaxed. So unless you're looking for that specific difficulty with regards to the gameplay, it's not really something that you're gonna push right from the get-go. Now, the last thing I would probably nitpick on would be the greater variety in puzzles, because the game actually had a lot of really good puzzles. I feel like they could have been a little bit more challenging or a little bit more diverse to provide more engaging and intellectually stimulating experience, sort of like we saw with Tomb Raider. So a little bit more to what they already established. Now, in conclusion, and with regards to where next for the franchise, for me, Uncharted 4 earned its greatness through a combination of stellar storytelling, breathtaking visuals, engaging gameplay, and memorable characters. For me, the game's ability to seamlessly blend cinematic presentation with interactive elements, basically at the time setting new standard for narrative-driven gaming. and Nathan Drake's final adventure was a fitting conclusion to his story. Again, exploring themes of family and legacy while delivering an emotionally resonant ending. As for the future of Nathan Drake's story, I think, again, Naughty Dog has indicated that Uncharted 4 serves as the conclusion as far as they're concerned. However, we know the games industry is dynamic, and developers may choose to revisit characters or revisit certain worlds in various ways. So while there may not be a direct continuation of Nathan Drake's story, we might see more spin-offs, more prequels, or just projects set in the Uncharted universe, kind of like we saw with Uncharted Lost Legacy. But I think they're not coming anytime soon because, again, Naughty Dog is working on some different IP at the moment, so it would be up to another studio to sort of pick up and continue this great franchise. And again, I actually did a video about this some time ago. I will try to link it in the description, where I was covering what we could potentially see if Naughty Dog was to make an Uncharted 5 or if another studio was to make an Uncharted 5. But hopefully I don't forget to link it in the video. But again, in summary, I think Uncharted 4 was a great game. This is another one of my tribute videos. I do apologize that I'm a little bit rusty in my scripting and storytelling. It's not as strong as my Ghost of Tsushima or Days Gone or The Last of Us essay, but I feel like I wanted to come back to this essay writing and come back to basically just talking about the games that I'm passionate about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. Do you want to see an Uncharted 5? Do you think Uncharted 4 was a fitting end to this franchise? Or do you think this should just be buried and we should just celebrate the good moments? Also, let me know if you didn't like Uncharted, because again, out of the PlayStation exclusives, it's one of those that's kind of loved, but also not necessarily loved to the way we see, like a God of War. Y'all know I'm biased as hell about God of War, so I think it was fitting that I would write a bit about Uncharted and some of the other PlayStation exclusives that maybe don't get as much love as they should. But again, I hope this isn't the last time that we hear from Uncharted as a franchise. Take care.
Doesn't matter anymore, okay? Just jump.
I gotta see this thing through.
We don't have enough time.
Verge of making history here, and you're willing to just walk off.
As thrilling as the next adventure might be, in the end, you're always left with that same feeling. Sometimes you just gotta choose what you're gonna let go.